Yeah, what's good, y'all? Welcome to another recorded episode of DTYDT. Deep in You Don't Think. Of course, y'all know I'm your Jose. Uh, Today we're gonna talk about making healthy decisions. So before we get into that, first, I'm a man of God. Secondly, I am not my beliefs and ideas. My beliefs and ideas are like clothes. So when they don't fit anymore, I remove them and replace them with new ones that fit. Right? So to get into it, well, before I get into it, so when we talk about being healthy, right? Most likely, our first thought will be eating wise. But eating is only one form of consumption regarding to our health. As for eating, we can also get more educated on what works for us individually. So, in a sense, that would come in trying different ways until you can be consistent with what works for you individually. Also, the time of day or night, the day and night you eat will matter. And depending on what you're drinking before bed and when you wake up in the morning, that also plays a big part. So, usually, I don't know how much of us really think that deep into it, that or actually pay attention to themselves or their bodies before and after bed on many different occasions to actually see how they react and how they function when they consume different things, drinking and eating wise. So, being very, I won't say analytical, but observant of yourself. If you're very a self-observant person, I don't know, I criticize myself a lot too. So, but if you're a very self-observant person, you'll start to understand that the way how you functioning isn't really how you used to, or basically you just can't seem to get through the day and stuff like that. But they're always around it. You just have to be more aware of how you're functioning depending on what you're consuming. That plays a big part. So if you really look at our neighborhood and stuff like that, our surroundings, I'm not sure exactly where whoever or wherever you're watching this from, I'm not sure of the area, but you look around in the area and you see and you look to identify what food shopping areas is is actually healthy, or what caters to actually healthy eating and healthy living. I know in the neighborhood where I'm from, There's not really that much, like, fresh. I would say fresh, because, and I think a lot of us get this confused a lot because of our environment and where we get brought up at. Because some of the restaurants, if you really get into food and how food's supposed to be cooked, a lot of the stuff is not fresh. But looking around in the neighborhoods, of course, you will see pizzerias. We love the Chinese stores. There's sometimes at least two Chinese store a block. Sometimes maybe a liquor store in every 2, 3 blocks, right? We got our KFC, our Popeyes, our Burger King, our Wendy's. Sometimes you will see all of them in the same intersection. Like, take your pick, right? But anything that caters to us being healthy, you would either have to go to, certain places or travel a distance. But how much places around us is actually catering to our health? So that means a lot of the times our environment aren't there to help us get out of the environment. But there is a way out of that environment. And becoming more self-aware of that when it comes to being healthy can be very helpful. So going into the waking up before bed, what are you watching? What are you listening to? So when we're going to bed, what are we feeding into our minds? Like I said, consumption comes in different forms, not only what we eat, but also what we listen and watch. So before bed, what are we listening to? What type of news, information are we listening to? What type of information are we watching with our eyes? Everything we watching is information. Whether it's a show, whether it's the news, a podcast, all those things are information. And whether we realize it or not, that those information that we consume with our eyes and ears, that also forms our lives. Because if we're listening to a whole bunch of different information and that's what's forming our lives, imagine the voices that's in our head. And a lot of times it would sound like ours, but we've been listening to so many different information and consuming other different information we're watching, that we don't even notice that we're speaking and thinking like other people because of the information that we're listening to and watching. So this is where everything starts. When we go to bed and when we wake up in the morning, the type of information that we're consuming. When we wake up, are we creating our day? Are we getting the right type of information to create our day so that we can go through our day and be effective during our day? During the day, What type of conversations are we getting ourselves into? Are we always giving or around people that gives bad news? Like, are we, is it something positive other than the negative that we're giving out in the morning? Or are we around people that's always delivering bad news or always talking about something or always talking about somebody? That is not healthy information. And it's an unhealthy act to involve ourselves with. So, are we speaking in love to one and to another we're speaking ill will or bad on that situation or that person in the same tongue? Are we speaking in love to one and in another we're speaking ill will or bad? Because now we're self contradicting ourselves. We do enough of that to ourselves, it become a very unhealthy characteristic that we don't really notice, and that comes from inside of us. Well, that develops inside of us. If we continue to let negative into our minds, it leads to negatively. Thinking negatively, thinking negatively leads to speaking that way. And before we know it, that's our character. And we can't figure out why things aren't going the way we think they should or why things going the way they are. Because our character became something where people can't even explain that the way how we speaking about things or our information about things is what has things going the way it do. And you really have to want to look at it that way. Hopefully I explained that fully. Making healthy decisions is not only what we eat, but choosing what we watch, choosing what we listen to, choosing what we read, who and what we allow around us to influence our lives, which brings us to this present day. Everyone who we allowed around us, the type of information that we have received, now bring all of that to today. All of those things that we allowed and the decisions that we made brought us to how we feel, where we are. And of course, there are other variables where we were not in control of course, but we still made decisions due to all the circumstances, whether in control or not. We still had decisions to make that we made. or didn't make. So we're used to making what it seems like, or what we have to notice more is we're used to making decisions based on how it's going to benefit us now and how it's going to affect us now. How it's going to affect us now. Is it going to be in effect now, 3 months, 6 months, a year from now? So our timeline is a bit shorter, or is more shorter, due to regarding to the decisions that we want to make, or the decisions that we're looking to make. But what about making the health decisions that's going to benefit us 7 to 10 years from now? Like the decision to create and continuously adjust a workout or meal plan to fit your lifestyle. Because working out is a lifestyle, and this getting off and getting on thing, it's not really a getting on and getting off, or a starting and stopping. It's only that way if we look at it that way. But if we continue seeking adjustment for something that we are continuously striving for, we'll have something more set and more suitable to what we can do, and push ourselves to be better in that way. Or what about the decision to not speak ill will or indulge in negative speaking about others? And most importantly, speaking ill will about ourselves in the inside. I know a lot of us, we have these inner conversations, and we like to, for me, I like to call it, I called it, or still call it, in a sense, keeping myself accountable. But in a lot of ways, we beat ourselves up in that way. And it really keeps our mind in a binding way where we stop making decisions, or don't want to make decisions, and just let life just go. And that decision to choose the type and source of information to influence us, that's also a decision. That's definitely a healthy decision, because the type of information that we're getting around is information that's going to improve us, that's going to benefit us, that's going to change everything 7 to 10 years from now. What can we start doing now to affect the 7 to 10 years from now, and not just the 6 months, or the 1 year from now, or the today, or the tomorrow? When it comes to working out or that meal plan, you make time for that, because this is your life 7 to 10 years from now. This is your body. You're gonna have to use your body operating these different things, you know, these different body parts. And after a certain point of our lives, we don't use them anymore, especially when we leave school and college. If we don't play sports, a lot of joints and muscles we don't activate and use in the same capacity as we used to in high school. We were more active. So the way how we eat changed. We're developing more, but we're not accommodating, suiting, our work life and our home life. And a lot of us lose sight of this very early, and we don't realize it until it's too late. Or we get in the mindset of like it's hard, or I have to get this right. I have to get that right. I have to have certain amount of things, but excuse me, but if we wait to have certain things or do certain things a certain way in a sense, it takes us a while to get started. And then when we put it off, we was like, all right, I start this time, I start that, especially when it comes to our health and working out. So when it comes to the sources and the information, we have to think and worry about what's growing us, what's teaching us to walk our true path, or in other words, the who's and the what's that is helping us become the best us. What type of information and the sources and environment are you getting around to make you the best you? What type of sources, who are the sources and information that you are putting in your environment to help you become the best you? So I hope you guys were blessed. If you watch this all the way through, make sure you share this with someone. Drop a like. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. I gotta start with that too. Subscribe to the channel. But look, if this helped you, make sure you share this with someone. If you thought about somebody, or if you thought about somebody while listening to this and you think they need to hear this, share this with them. I will try to keep it short. But then again, if you want the information and it's really good information and it's taking you where you want to go and is making you a better you, and the source wants you to be a better you, and it don't matter the time, you invest your time into what's making you better, what's saving you time. And that's what I want to do, and that's what I'm practicing at this stage, going on, saving other people time and energy. So hope y'all were blessed. Make sure y'all share, drop a like, subscribe, and I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one. Peace.